second technique this week is kind of the opposite of the threadle. It's where we use our outside arm to send the dog away from us. So the threadle arm, technique 1 this week, pulls the dog in close to us, and the get out arm sends the dog away from us. So let us begin by first defining what I mean. So for the get out arm and the get out verbal that goes with it, I want the dog to shift their lead away from me and pick up an obstacle. Now that of course could turn them away on the flat, but we'll get to that at another time. This is simply going from running parallel to me to moving away, picking up an obstacle, and then resuming their parallel path to me. The whole goal is that I can send the dog away on course and then get to where I need to be without having to run to that obstacle. Now, we also need to define which verbals we're going to use that make it different. And definitely, like on the threadle, I use close. That's one of my threadle verbals. And on the get out, I use get out. I'm not terribly creative with my verbals. Feel free to be more creative. But different words really, really help. Occasionally, I'll also use an obstacle name like weave or something like that if the dog understands it. If it's jumps or they're exiting a tunnel, I'll name the directional, which is get out. And again, what get out means is they're running parallel to me. I'm going to keep running parallel. Dog is going to move away and pick up a parallel line. This has to do with lead changes on the flat, meaning that when the dog is on my left, the dog is going to be leaning towards a right lead. And in order to get him to take an obstacle over there, I would like for him to switch to a left lead to move off and then come back parallel to me. Now, if you're on time, you really don't see it happening because the lead change happens way back and nice and early. Yes, it's what we want. If you see it happening, you're just late in your timing. If you don't give the proper cue, they won't lead change away. With that in mind, some young dogs especially need to understand that it is not forbidden to do this, so we might have to do a little bit of dog training to help the dogs understand. One of my dogs really thought it was crazy that he should leave me to go take a thing, like literally lead change and go take it. So I had to help him out a little bit, and that's perfectly acceptable. Let's also look at the difference in the physical cues between the various arm positions we've been using already. So the break arm, you're rotated, the arm is low. All right, hey, stop sign. Now the exit line connection, arm is here, across your body, nice and low. The threadle, up here. And notice on the threadle, if you're my dog, that it drops this shoulder back, and this shoulder is rotated towards the dog. That is important to remember because the get out arm does not drop the shoulder back. It actually leaves this shoulder kind of where it needs to be and pushes this other shoulder away in front of your body. So the difference in the physical cues, threadle, this shoulder, the opposite arm shoulder is going back towards the dog. And on the get out arm, the opposite arm is bringing your shoulder ahead of your body. I think of it as, with the threadle arm, I'm trying to get the dog's attention, and with the opposite arm for the get out cue, I'm almost pointing to where I want the dog to go ahead. So it's a pretty distinct difference. You're my dog, you're on my side, which is this? Threadle. Which is this? Still threadle, I'm messing with you. Which is this? Get out. And so that really, really helps the dog understand the difference between the two, because if it all looks the same, they're relying just on verbal cues and your life will be much harder. Here are the first set of exercises just on one jump to begin teaching it to the dog. Here it is with a little bit of context. The bar on the ground is my running line. I want to run that way, straight, to be able to get to wherever I need to be on course, some crazy challenge up ahead, but I need the dog to take that jump. Now, if I run to it, I can get him to take that jump, easy peasy, but it may very well delay my ability to get way up that line. The dog goes much faster than me. So if I can, you're the dog, if I can run forward and say, get out, letting this shoulder with the opposite arm come ahead of my body, he will leave me, which buys me tremendous running time to get up the line wherever I need to be. You'll see more of it in the mini sequences, but we do need to teach the dog first on the flat. Now, technically, I like to stay connected with my dogs, but on this one, this arm is going to point to the obstacle. It might be the only time I actually point to an obstacle on course. So I'm running, and I use this arm to say, go take that, because it brings this shoulder out ahead. If I wanted to rear cross on the flat, something that we'll look at in future weeks, it would look entirely different to the dog, which is really helpful to have all those tools in your toolbox. All right, let me show you this with a dog. I'm gonna put a leash on the ground to keep my walking path straight so that my body language is straight with my lower body, upper body doing the heavy lifting. And I don't wanna use a jump bar because Nacho keeps trying to offer behavior on the jump bar, which kind of hurts the behavior I'm trying to get. So start pretty close, lay your running path close enough to the jump. Now remember, you are not gonna wanna move towards the jump, it's just the upper body. You'll put the dog in a stay, thank you Nacho. You'll have a reward ready to throw with the opposite arm, and I'm using cookies for him, but you can also use a toy, whatever you want is cool. Come here, Notch. If you're starting in a stay here, you must release with the get out cue, and I'll explain why in a minute, but it looks like this. Get out, yay, good boy. So I managed to keep my feet moving straight, and he managed to go get the jump. Come here, Notch, let's do it again. I'm gonna go a little bit faster this time. Get out, yay, good boy, get it, whee! Now, the reason I say you have to release with the get out cue is we don't want them just randomly getting out everywhere. So if I do not give a get out cue, he should not get out. The release and the connection, regular, boring, old moving forward means come to me. So that way we don't lose their ability to bypass off courses. So that's what this looks like. Break. Yes, good boy. Yay. So good boy Nacho after all that reinforcement for taking the jump to see the difference. In your training session, let me get a little bit more cheese going, try and go back and forth pretty regularly, showing the dog the difference between this, get out, yes, good boy, and this. Sit. Break. Ha ha, ruh-roh. And if they do that, they just don't get a cookie. Break. Yay, good boy. He's like, wait, I don't get a cookie? That's ridiculous. One more, get out. Get out. Yes, good boy. Well done. So that was fairly close up. Now I'm gonna move the leash away and see if I can get it at more of a distance. Now remember, the leash is not for the dog, it's for my sorry self to make sure that I stay away from the dog's line. And I don't wanna run into it. The leash is a good blocker. And by putting your leash on the ground, you are also adding distance for the dog. So I'm gonna line him up, come here Notch, on the leash, and he's very patient with me. I'm gonna start my moving, because this is a moving behavior. Get out, yes! He's like, I like this. And then of course, you are going to add not getting out. Come here, you, Notch. You are gonna add just coming to me. Break, yay! And I'm super careful on the break balances that I'm not like, or flinging my arms around. Really subtle, quiet body language. So your goal is to gradually be able to move further and further and further away just on one jump so that the dog can get out pretty far from you. Very useful skill, not just for gamblers or fast, but for regular courses as well. And then once they're pretty good at moving away, making sure you balance it, you're gonna wanna add more and more and more speed. So let's add a little bit of speed. Yes, good boy. Get out, yeah. Yeah. Get out. Yes. So, cheating. Total cheating. Come here. Yes, very good. Get out. Get out. Get out. Yes. Yes. Get out. Yay! Easy as pie. get out, get out, get out, get out. Yes!